I'm Brian Kemble, the curator at the Ruth Bancroft Garden, and we're going to walk you through some of the things that are in bloom in April. So we're going to run through them one by one, starting with this one, which is Grevillea multiradiata, a desert daisy, and really just blooming to beat the band. In addition to all the open flowers, it's got lots of buds on the way as well. This California native is named Diplacus aurantiacus or Mimulus aurantiacus. It had a name change, and the common name for it is sticky monkey flower. It's a California native, very common in the coast ranges of California, both northern and southern California. The usual flower color we see in nature is a pale yellow-orange, but there are a number of color forms, and this is a deeper orange form. Very attractive native plant and wonderful spring bloomer. Salvias are popularly known as sages, and California has some wonderful species. This one is Salvia clevelandii, a shrub to about 4 feet tall that likes full sun and hardy to about 15 degrees, so it has good cold tolerance. This plant's name is Trichostema lanatum, commonly known as woolly blue curls. It's a California native and belongs to the mint family, just like the salvia does. It has a long blooming period in the summer with fuzzy purple flowers with curling tips that give it the name woolly blue curls. South Africa is home to a great many species of aloe, more than any other country, and different ones flower at different times of the year. Now in the early spring we have Aloe affinis in flower with a very unusual dark reddish tinge to the foliage and these beautiful spires of pinkish red flowers emerging from the top. It's from eastern South Africa, and then from southern South Africa is the larger Aloe speciosa looming above the Aloe affinis, and it's got salmon pink buds giving way to ivory white flowers with darker stamens and a little bit of orange pollen emerging from it. Really quite a wonderful plant, and it develops a trunk and oftentimes becomes multi-headed with age. Because the heads tilt a little bit to the side, a common name for it is the tilt-headed aloe. This Australian plant is Grevillea petrophylloides, a cultivar named Big Bird. It's relatively new to horticulture, but is really a spectacular plant with this fine fern-like foliage and wonderful wands of flowers coming out. So at the bud stage, the flowers are a deep, sort of a wine pink with gray-green tips. And then as the flowers open, the color changes to more of a mauve tinge on the outside. Really marvelous plant and just flowering like crazy this time of the year. The agave family is all native to the Americas, and many of them from Mexico. Everybody knows the agaves, the century plants, but a smaller group in the same family is Bechonaria, and these are generally mountain-growing plants from Mexico and southward into Guatemala. And this one here is Bechonaria yuccoides, named for its resemblance to a yucca. It has this amazing pink inflorescence that comes out and dangling red and green and yellow flowers like little bells hanging down. A very easy plant to grow, can take sun or partial shade and hardy down to about 15 degrees. Aloe camperi is an Ethiopian aloe, and from the northern part of Ethiopia. It's really quite a common aloe in its native habitat. This one is a cultivar called cornuta, and it's an extra large rosette and lots of flowers. They start out at a red-orange color and then go to a soft yellow-orange as they open. So you have this two-tone effect. Aloe cornuta. There are lots of aloe hybrids, and this one is a hybrid of Aloe claviflora and Aloe petricola, both South African species. And it's really notable for its neat rosettes of leaves and these striking bicolored flowers. So the buds are red-orange color, and then the open flowers are greenish-white. So you have this nice two-tone effect. This is a plant that's very cold tolerant, but really does not like all the winter rainfall that we get. So in order to grow it successfully here, we have really good drainage, lots of rock underneath there. Okay, Leucospermum is a genus in the Protea family, and these plants come from South Africa. They're part of what we call the fynbos vegetation, which is a vegetation type, means fine bush, and it sort of corresponds to our chaparral here in California. But one of the groups that occur commonly in fynbos areas is the Protea family, and this is Leucospermum Succession. Their flowering season really starts at this time of the early spring, and this is one of the first, Leucospermum Succession, a hybrid. So when the flowers first start, they're like a little cone, and then as they get a little bit farther along, they start to get a little bit orange in them, and then further along still, the stigmas start to come out like little curls. And then as the flowers mature, then the stigmas start to stick out and give it that pincushion look that's so characteristic of these plants. Here we have another aloe hybrid, Aloe buhrii x maculata, and both of its parents are from South Africa, but one Aloe maculata comes from the summer rainfall region and the other Aloe buhrii from the winter rainfall region. And this yields a plant that's very adaptable and can take water at all seasons without any problems, and has these wonderful clusters of yellow flowers. It's really just coming into bloom now and has more flowers on the way, but putting on a great show, Aloe buhrii x maculata. This plant is Doryanthes palmeri, which we might think of as Australia's answer to an agave. The leaves are not as thick and rigid as an agave, but it has that same large presence and impressive flower stalk, but in this case with bright red flowers. Eremophilas are Australian natives known as emu bushes, and there are really an amazing number of different cultivars and species with different flower colors, different foliage colors, different textures. This one is called Eremophila alternifolia from southern and western Australia, and ultimately it can get to be as much as 10 feet tall, although ours are not near that big. It's hardy to about the mid-20s and can take full sun or partial shade. The bromeliad family is a large family, all native to the Americas, and there are many different kinds of bromeliads. Some of them are air plants that grow perched on branches, and some of them are tank-type plants that make a cup with their leaves that collects water in the middle, and those are common in rainforest environments. But some of the drier growing ones are succulents, and this is a Dyckia, genus mostly native to Brazil, and this one is a hybrid, Dyckia fosteriana hybrid, with the beautiful orange flowers that Dyckias so often have. If they're not orange, they're always yellow. And this one gets to be a clump of rosettes, each rosette to about 8 inches across, and is hardy down to the mid-20s. Yucca is a large genus in the agave family, and they're all native to North America, well, North and Central America. So some of them are low-growing plants with just a rosette right on the ground, but other ones get to be quite tall. And this one here is Yucca rigida from northern Mexico, and it's just starting to come into flower right now. And then beyond it is Yucca treculeana from West Texas and Northeast Mexico, which has been in bloom for some time now. And you can really see from that how spectacular those white flowers are on a yucca. So some of these larger growing yuccas, you don't often really get to see the flowers close up because they're way up there on top of the plant. But here we have Yucca treculeana that's actually lowered to the ground, and we can really see the inside of the flower. That's the stigma there that takes the pollen, and these are the little anthers with the pollen on them around the outside. These are pollinated by moths, a specialized moth that only visits the yuccas. And the yucca depends on the moth for pollination, and the moth depends on the yucca for food, so it's a symbiotic relationship. Many people are aware that aeoniums come from the Canary Islands, at least most of them come from the Canary Islands. But also from the Canary Islands are these wonderful echiums. So there's one kind called the Tower of Jewels. These really are wonderful spring blooming plants, make a lot of flowers, very popular with the bees. And this one is Echium gentianoides, named for that gentian blue color of the flowers, a really incredible saturated blue. Senna is a genus in the pea family, and Australia has lots of wonderful species. This one here is Senna artemisioides, named for its resemblance to an artemisia. And it's just loaded with flowers. It has a long blooming period in the winter and spring. I never tire of talking about all the beautiful aloes that come from South Africa. This is a little one named Aloe claviflora. Claviflora means club-shaped flowers, and if you look at the flowers closely, they are like little clubs. And this one is from South Africa's dry interior. It's really a summer rainfall plant, and it doesn't really like all our winter rain. We can get it to grow by giving it really good drainage and plenty of sun. It doesn't mind cold, it's just the wet that it really doesn't like. This is the first time we've flowered this successfully, and we're very happy to have it making such a nice show, not with one inflorescence, but with even another one following. Aloe claviflora. This plant is Echeveria agavoides, which comes from several states in central Mexico. The genus Echeveria is primarily Mexican, but some of them do extend all the way down as far as South America. Echeveria agavoides is one of the easier ones for us to grow here in Northern California, and it does fine in semi-shade or even full sun, especially on coastal locations. Has waxy green leaves with a little bit of a red tip to them, and then these nodding clusters of very small flowers that emerge in the springtime. So this one's just beginning, it's still at the bud stage.